Perfect friends, welcome back to the channel and to another Whisper Facts episode. And today we're talking about the lottery, something every one of us has probably dreamt of winning at some point. I know that I certainly have, and there was actually a time when I was really obsessed with trying to win the lottery, but we will get into all of that throughout the video. This episode will primarily contain general lottery facts from around the world, and some of them, I have to say, are truly eye-opening. But first of all, we're going to begin with a brief historical look at the lottery, when and where it was formed, etc. So, it's time to lay back, relax, and let yourself drift away as I whisper facts about the lottery. A lottery is a form of gambling that involves the drawing of numbers at random for a prize. Some governments outlaw lotteries, while others endorse it to the extent of organizing a national or state lottery. Lotteries come in many formats. For example, the prize can be a mixed amount of cash or goods. In this format, there is a risk to the organizer if insufficient tickets are sold. More commonly, the prize fund will be a fixed percentage of the receipts. A popular form of this is the 50-50 draw, where the organizers promise that the prize will be 50% of the revenue. Many recent lotteries allow purchasers to select the numbers on the lottery ticket, resulting in the possibility of multiple winners. The first recorded signs of a lottery are keno slips from the Chinese Han Dynasty. These lotteries are believed to have helped to finance major government projects like the Great Wall of China. From the Chinese Book of Songs comes a reference to a game of chance as the drawing of wood, which in context appears to describe the drawing of lots. The first known European lotteries were held during the Roman Empire, mainly as an amusement at dinner parties. Each guest would receive a ticket, and prizes would often consist of fancy items such as dinnerware. Every ticket holder would be assured of winning something. The earliest records of a lottery offering tickets for sale is the lottery organized by Roman Emperor Augustus. The funds were for repairs in the city of Rome, and the winners were given prizes in the form of articles of unequal value. The first recorded lotteries to offer tickets for sale with prizes in the form of money were held in the Low Countries in the 15th century. Various towns held public lotteries to raise money for town fortifications and to help the poor. The town records of Ghent, Utrecht, and Bruges indicate that lotteries may be even older. A record dated 9th of May 1445 refers to raising funds to build walls and town fortifications with a lottery of So there we have our brief historical look at when the lottery was formed and how it progressed through the ages until it became what we know it is today. So it all began way back in China during the Han Dynasty, working our way up to the 15th century, being when lottery tickets gave away cash prizes. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, I think, to learn a bit more about the history of the lottery before the real fun facts begin. Alright, so quick question for you guys. Who do you think plays the lottery more? Men or women? Well, according to one survey, 55% of men were positive about lotteries as opposed to only 42% of women. And I guess that makes sense if you think about it. I mean, I tend to think of men as being the ones more into gambling games than women in general, so that makes sense in my opinion. In 1984, a regular at a pizzeria asked his waitress for help choosing his lottery numbers. He won, came back and tipped her $3 million. Okay, so this is the first really sort of fun fact that we have here today. And a $3 million tip is astonishing. So he must have won a lot of money on that lottery. It really depends on how much you win, of course. I only really know about two lotteries where I come from. That being the UK lottery and also the Euro Millions, which is the lottery for all of Europe, and you can get some insane winnings on that particular lottery. I'm pretty sure the highest winning ticket, or winning amount I should say, that I've ever seen won on Euro Millions was around 161 million. I'm not sure if that was in euros or pounds, but it's still a staggering amount of money, and I think it was back in 2012, I believe, when I was really quite obsessed with trying to win the lottery, which sounds kind of funny to say, but I studied the numbers and I looked at all kinds of stats, and yeah, I was one of those people, and I tried to pick the perfect line, which in my eyes obviously, and I kept playing the same line over and over, and I think it was pretty naive really, but it's everyone's dream, and I went through quite a short period of thinking it might be possible, but I soon gave up on the dream after just a handful of months. But it was fun while it lasted, and I have to say that at this point in my life I don't play the lottery. I haven't played it in years. I might have the odd sort of urge to play a ticket one night, so I might put on one line every 6, 8, 9 months, whatever. I'm not exactly sure, but I don't do it very often at all. A survey found that 99% of British lottery winners kept playing after their numbers came up, and of those, 70% were sure that they would win again. A California woman won $1.3 million in the lottery and filed for divorce 11 days later. She didn't tell her husband, and 2 years later her husband found out all about it and sued her. The judge awarded her husband all of her winnings nobody's going to turn their head and look at, or a 10-bedroom house that I don't need. I'd buy myself a good car, a nice apartment, things like that, things that ordinary people on decent incomes would afford. So I wouldn't go crazy at all. In fact, I'd want to be smart with the money. I would, of course, give my family a share, and I'd look to probably invest some of it in some way to keep it ticking over, which I know sounds really boring, but I think it's a sensible thing to do. And I wouldn't want to just be spending money and not recouping any of it. I'd want to be smart about it, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And if you won, I'd hope that you be smart as well, but also have a lot of fun as well. In Taiwan, every receipt for every store in the country is also a ticket to a government-run lottery with top prizes worth up to $300,000. According to statistical research, American winners don't claim an astonishing $2 billion worth of lotto winnings every year. Yeah, this is something that I find quite amazing. If you go onto your local lottery website, there should be a section that has all the unclaimed prizes, and it really does amaze me how many prizes are unclaimed. I know that the British one, there's a long list, usually when I go on, of very high amounts of money that just haven't been claimed. So, I don't know how that happens. I'm not sure exactly how you buy a lottery ticket and then forget you have it, and then you win it, and you have no idea. I think you would go a bit crazy if you ever found out and it has expired or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how long you have to claim your prize, but I think there is a set amount of time on it, so you do have to be very careful and always be sure to check your lottery tickets, because you never know. Former Spanish national team goalkeeper Iker Casillas was given money by his dad for lottery tickets every week, but used to spend it on himself. One day, 14 of his dad's numbers came up, and he lost his dad 1.1 million euros. Okay, so this is another very amusing fact. And as a huge football fan, I obviously know who Iker Casillas is, and that's something that I've never heard of before. I hope that his dad has forgiven him ever since this occurred, and that's all I can really say about that. I think I would be very, very frustrated if that happened to me. Where would you store your winning lottery ticket so nobody else could get their hands on it? Apparently, almost 30% of female lottery winners keep their lucky ticket safe and sound in their bras. And I think you probably saw that fact coming. I know I did. And that seems like a bit of a dodgy place to hide it, I have to say, because it's not exactly very secure down there. But yeah, I think it's quite an obvious place for women to hide their lottery tickets. In 2005, a Chinese man found that he could still buy lottery tickets within a 5-minute window after the winning numbers were announced. This allowed him to win over $4 million. When Chinese authorities caught on, he was sentenced to life in prison. And I think that is quite harsh, you have to say. Life in prison. Well, I guess that comes from the amount of money. I mean, it's not as if he was winning very, very small amounts. Over 4 million. Yeah, it's not a case of robbing small amounts of a local shop or something like that, but life still seems to be very harsh to me, considering that people get a lot less time for what I would consider more severe crimes than that. Surveys find that 48% of British workers kept working at their day jobs after hitting the jackpot. In contrast, it seems like Americans are happier in their jobs, as 67% said that they wouldn't quit even if they won $10 million. Yeah, and I have to say that if I won, there's no way that I would keep working, not full-time anyway. Maybe part-time, who knows, but there's really no reason to keep working unless you actually enjoy your job. And how many people can say that? But of course it very much depends on the amount you win as well. A waitress was tipped a lottery ticket and won $10 million. She was then sued by her colleagues for their share. Following this, she was sued by the man who tipped her the ticket. And finally, she was kidnapped by her ex-husband, which resulted in him being shot in the chest. Wow, this sounds almost like a made-up fact. It sounds insane, but it is actually true, as there's an article all about it. It's pretty crazy. I mean, what stands out to me is the man who tipped her the ticket suing her. Surely, if it was given to her as a tip, then she is now the legal owner of the lottery ticket. I'm really not sure of the legal technicalities, but it sounds like she had an absolutely horrendous experience, and it just shows what greed essentially will do to a lot of people. I mean, first of all, she had her colleagues sue her, so you can't really call them friends if they're going to do something like that. And then the man who gave her the tickets sued her. But I mean, why would you give a lottery ticket as a tip and then try to sue the person? It's the act of a very small person, I guess. And finally, she had the ex-husband kidnap her. It's just crazy. And then he ends up being shot. It's just really is mental. One question you might ask yourself is, does hitting the jackpot really make you happier? A survey of winners found that the answer was yes, with 55% saying the win had improved their mood, 43% that it made no difference either way, and an unlucky 2% who said the win made them less happy than they had been before. And I'm not sure how it would be for me, of course, but I would like to think that it would definitely improve my life, and I would keep my feet firmly on the ground. As I mentioned earlier, I wouldn't go too crazy like a lot of people do. I think when you lose control of how much you're spending, that's really when things start to go bad. In 1960, an Australian father won nearly $3 million in the lottery, with his picture getting plastered all over the was kidnapped for ransom and eventually murdered. This changed anonymity laws for lottery winners in Australia forever. This is one of the most shocking facts within this video, I would imagine, before we have completed it, but it is really shocking, and it's one that I wasn't previously aware of. There's a whole article on it on Wikipedia as well, if you want to check that out. And I've partly read it, and I plan to read the full story very shortly, but it's crazy what greed can do to some people, as I mentioned in the last fact, and the lengths that they will go to get their hands on money. I can't believe that the child was actually murdered. It kind of makes me think about the Mel Gibson movie Ransom, when his son was kidnapped and held for ransom for a large amount of money. It's a really good movie. You should check that out if you've never seen it. When the same 6 numbers were drawn in Israel's state lottery twice in the same month, it defied odds of trillions to 1. When the same thing happened in consecutive Bulgarian lottery draws in September 2009, the authorities got involved, but it turns out that the coincidence was a genuine one. A man in 2002 found a way to crack the lottery in the US state of Michigan using math and probability. He figured out that if he bought a certain amount of tickets, that he would certainly make a profit. He and his wife Marge ended up making millions of dollars. And I'm struggling to not laugh at the end part of that fact. Marge. Maybe it was Homer Simpson, the genius of a man who came up with this strategy to win billions. That is so funny. And it mentions that the wife's name is Marge. But for comedy's sake, let's pretend that it was the Simpsons who came up with this strategy to win the millions of dollars on the lottery. It's quite funny. A Dublin-based syndicate led by an accountant of Polish origin came up with a plan to buy the Irish lottery. They spent 6 months and £820,000 trying to buy every possible combination of numbers for the 1.7 million jackpot. They managed to buy 80% of the tickets, enough to make a profit of around £310,000. A New Jersey man bought a $5 bottle of orange juice. His wife said it was too expensive and sent him back to return it because it was on sale for $2.50 elsewhere. He then decided to buy 2 lottery tickets with the cash refunded from the orange juice, and he won $315.3 million. I love facts like these, events that led up to a bigger event happening, and it makes me think about the video I did for NASA in which Neil Armstrong's application to become an astronaut was actually late in submitting it, but he had a friend who worked for NASA and he was able to slip his application into the pile even though it was late. And of course he went on to become the first man on the moon. So yeah, it's a really cool fact. last laugh. After surviving 7 potentially fatal accidents involving cars, trains, and planes over the course of his life, his luck turned at age 73 when the ex-music teacher landed an €800,000 lottery win. In 2019, Americans spent $80 million on lottery tickets, more than the amount they spent on movies, sport tickets, books, music, and video games put together. A $3 million lottery winner was sentenced to 21 years in prison after using his winnings to finance a meth trafficking ring. Yeah, that was a really bad choice. The lottery is completely random, of course. It isn't just won by good people, unfortunately, but at least he was caught and sentenced appropriately. When Kitty White of the pop group The Ting Tings was 12 years old, her grandfather won £6.6 million on the lottery. He gave $1 million to Kitty's father, who, as well as buying ponies for Kitty and her sister, used the money to start his own music management company. I have never actually heard of this band, The Ting Tings. Let me know in the comments if you have heard of this band, but it just doesn't ring any kind of bell with me. But it is a cool fact, and as I mentioned before, if I was to win, I would certainly be dishing out some money to my immediate family. I'm only really close to my parents and my sister, so they would each get probably at least $1 million each. It would really depend on how much I won, of course, but yeah, they would definitely get some of the winnings. A lottery win as big as $11.2 million would go to a lot of people's heads, but not Alan and Violet Large from Canada. The couple, in their 70s, gave away every single cent of their jackpot win, with most of it going to hospitals. What an amazingly selfless act, and no doubt that money went a long, long way to helping the hospitals that it went to. Maybe it was their plan all along to give it away if they ever won, but yeah, that is truly an astonishing act of kindness from this couple. A Scottish teen's mother had been nagging him for weeks to clean his bedroom. When Ryan Kitching finally cleaned his room, he found 12 old lottery tickets in a drawer, with one of them being a winner for £52,981. And this is the sort of fact that I was really looking forward to when putting this video together. It's amazing how many lottery winning tickets are unclaimed, as I mentioned earlier, and it was just by chance that this teenager found some tickets that he hadn't checked, and one happened to be a winner. So yeah, he probably should thank his mum by giving her a fair chunk of his winnings, and I hope that he did. The title of the world's biggest lottery goes to the famous Spanish Christmas lottery, often called El Gordo, which translates to the fat one, after its top prize, due to its massive massive prize pool of 2.3 billion euros. The lottery started in 1812 to fund Spain's war against Napoleon's armies, with orphan boys used to pick out the winning tickets from golden pots. Today, school kids from a former boys' home announce the winners in song during the live TV show that accompanies this much-loved lottery. Australian trucker Bill Morgan was declared legally dead for 14 minutes after a crash, but miraculously came back to life. He bought himself a scratch card to celebrate and won a car worth $27,000 when a TV crew asked him to buy another to recreate the moment. His luck got even better, as the new ticket was worth $250,000. And I wonder what the odds were of that happening. Simply staggering. 250k is still a lot of money, but for winning twice, you'd really hope to win a lot more, I guess. But scratch card winnings aren't as high as the lottery, obviously. But I do remember many years ago, I tricked my dad with one of those fake scratch cards, which I know is really cruel, but it's something that is a lot of fun as well. So obviously they're very cruel for the person winning, but they're a lot of fun for the person playing the prank. But I know that if that prank was played on me, I would not be very amused. And finally, in China, lottery winners are required to turn up in person to claim their winning checks and pose for publicity snaps. However, a loophole in the rules means they are not required to show their faces on these occasions. This has led to numerous winners donning different costumes so as to retain their identity, with Mickey Mouse and giant pandas among those hitting the jackpot in recent years. That is quite the image, people turning up for their winnings in fancy dress. But whilst it does sound silly, it also makes a lot of sense. Money really can change some people, as we have discussed throughout this video. And if everyone knows that you're a lottery winner, it can certainly change how they behave towards you. You can never be sure if someone truly likes you or if they like your money. For me, it'd be pretty simple. It wouldn't be something that I would broadcast, especially when it came to dating and relationships, and also when making new friends. It's not something that you need to tell potential friends or a love interest, as it could certainly muddy the waters, I guess. So you do really need to be careful and make sure that you're sensible with your winnings and who you trust. But if you were to meet somebody and you began dating and eventually you grew to trust this person, I think that is the point when you would tell them that you were a lottery winner and how much you won. And that's completely up to you, of course, if you want to tell them how much. But yes, quite an interesting discussion, I think. Well guys, that is almost it for today's Whisper Facts episode, all about the lottery. But I really hope that you enjoyed the video, as I think a lot of these facts were a lot of fun, and I certainly had a good time putting the facts together for this one. I think some of them were very amusing, and I hope you did as well. And if you did enjoy be sure to hit the like button as it helps support the channel. Consider subscribing as well if you're new around here and enjoy content like this. And if you do subscribe, be sure to hit the notification bell as well to get notified when my videos go live on the channel. But thank you for joining me, and until next time, rest easy, sleep well, and I hope to see you again very soon for another video.